arts project and the role of arts has been really important here in terms of empowering people.
Communities were always hungry for stuff, but they didn't necessarily know how to, or have the means to engage artists on terms that were interesting and developmental.
We're bringing back to the first event. The first significant event here was held in 1997, called Born of the Demons, Embracing the Future.
Which was a major, probably a pivotal point, you know, in consciousness, I think, within the area around the innate strength of the community to place itself in front of other people and to be able to say, not that, possibly what we're feeling and thinking matters more than you imagine, and we're going to demonstrate that.
And that was a major event. A lot of people talk about that event in 1997 as being the catalyst for making a push to try turn things around here.
And I've heard old ones here, like, and I've seen them in interviews say things like, not since the Corpus Christi, you know, processions of the 50, you know, or whatever like that has to be as even better than river dance. We then got like a social and a cultural definition of regeneration. So within that then, the place of the arts were valued naturally by the community. Then I was able to work a lot more closely with children's organisations, youth organisations, adult education, people interested in the idea of culture, of identity, of the arts and how they help literacies and intelligences move on.
This was a project that we took on. I think there was two remaining blocks that was to come down, and we were always mindful that the residents, well, they were busy getting settled in their new homes, they were forgetting that the flats were gone. So we ran a festival and it was called Bury My Heart in Fatima. So what we done was residents came and made their own clay hearts and written little messages on them. And on the night then we had a big finale and he'd come up and he'd put it on.
Because there's no point to getting out to do real work unless you can secure the conditions under which there's a continuum of provision and where people's expectations can naturally be met once they try hard with certain pathways.
Arts has played a really important role in terms of telling the story, creating people who've gone on to do music, arts, drama over the last 10 years here.
At the moment we have almost 80 people involved in subgroups around different art forms, planning and designing programs with artists.
We've had mockness here, living here in flats with the local residents, and we've had a lot of interesting creative moments, to say the least.
That old polarity between the artist and the gatekeeper, you know, we're narrowing that one down.
I think artists will be the first to say, you know, it's been very enriching and rewarding here, but getting the balance between locals' analysis of what arts is and what an artist's perception of any particular event might be, and sometimes can be really challenging. And obviously artists are bohemian and bring a difference, and that was really, really important, particularly for children, in terms of bringing new ideas, new faces.
In the first instance, a lot of it here, particularly in Fatima, whereas there's always good artwork going on with children and young people for a variety of reasons, the sense of anticipating change, you know, having to mark change and having to cope emotionally with big change, meant that one major facet of the work that went on here was based on ritual, street spectacle, you know, claiming public space, you know, forms of public art that were emerged out of a respect for what the community were thinking and feeling. You know, local people got involved in negotiating with Lewis, you know, around stuff. Impulses around the arts and culture in the early days were in the service of the big change, and they worked particularly well. And then we were able to get a little bit more involved in the idea of looking at generational change, and particularly working with children and young people. Then we had that opportunity, moving into regeneration, to say, okay, let's take this time as an opportunity to look holistically at life and what matters in the community. You know, in effect, a new agenda, you know, with 9 areas, including arts and culture, you know, along with education, along with health, along with various other areas that we said needed a type of attention, not just funding, but a type of attention and a way in which these things could be animated. Culture is everything, you know. So, and within that, the arts are languages. And how many languages do you need if you need to express yourself at a time of change? As many as you can have. And you know, especially if you're not used to it or you haven't been seen and respected. If you've, as this place was, absolutely blacked within the media for the guts of 15 or 20 years with negative imagery. You know, you've really got to work. The idea that we might have a generation of really culturally literate, independent thinking young people, I mean, is a very powerful thing, you know, that way. I mean, you were at the gig last night, right? So and you heard the compare and the simple sense of validating and talking to families and talking to parents and seeing that virtually every, you know, I mean, anyone that had a child performing in and around that place and the extent that they were there, you know, that way. And that was like a 2-hour gig played without an interval. But there's pride was a word that's used. You don't get that easily, do you know what I mean? That comes about incrementally over time. So you're beginning to see the benefits of staying the course, do you know that way? In the visual arts, right, we had about 12 or 15 young people working in all the major cultural institutions of Dublin, painting, doing etchings, you know, critiquing shows. Now they're all about 11, 12, 13, you know. They went, you know, National Gallery, Douglas Hyde, Emma, they had workshops in NCAD, RHA, whatever, you know. And they had an exhibition downstairs last week of their work, only to their families, right? While down there in one of the enterprise spaces, because one of the kids, when we're giving them, a lot of the kids just like the idea of well, let's just say, less attracted to the idea of drawing or fine work or standing over their work or whatever like that, but like the idea of tools and, you know, energy and so on. And they said they wanted to make a house, so literally to scale, they've made a house down there, including all the furniture and all the whatever, and there was about 80 of them there every Monday and Wednesday for 4 weeks. And it's a piece of work in progress, you know. But the, you know, sawing, you know, glue guns, you know, battering in tiles, all of that sort of stuff. And particularly with, you know, there's kids, understandably, with short attention spans or have been screwed up in school for a variety of reasons or wouldn't be able to give you their best attention in terms of respecting what's going on. But that place was like an incubator of energy, you know. So just within one sphere of the arts, you know, you've got maybe like a recognition around the different levels at which needs exist. For some people it's exposure, recreation, others it's a little bit more towards, no, I want to, this is me, this is my world, and how I read the world and respond to the world really matters. And then there's those that actually begin to think in terms of, I could do something with this, and they have a vocational kind of view of this, or could I, or might I? And, you know, even say, coming through the music tradition now, there's a couple of kids that are now in music school, right? So, and moving on. And kids see them, and then they think, why not? And it's the same, it can be the same in any art form. It's just the question, the equality question, and then the conditions, and the extent to which the community owns and understands that.